AV in your ears, that's ambush being giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world with my boy Steve, Fascination Street. You already know, let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you...
Hi, I'm Eric Roberts, and this is my wife,
Eliza Roberts.
and you're listening to Fascination Street podcast, the best one on the planet besides ours, of course.
Yeah, AV in your ears, that's ambush being giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world with my boy Steve, Fascination Street. You already know, let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with the lovely and talented Eric Roberts and his gorgeous, equally lovely, and equally talented wife, Eliza Roberts. In this episode, we get to know both of them, including where they were born and raised, what they wanted to be when they grew up, how they got into their actual lines of business, and how they met and fell in love like silly, silly childrens. We go all over the place in this episode. We talk about some of the phenoms that Eliza has had a hand in making household names. We talk about some of Eric's projects and some of his experiences on those sets. We talk about some of the things that Eliza has done as an actress. Of course, we talk about Eric's recent stint on Dancing with the Stars. They also share some personal stories about friends who they have helped in very special and sobering ways. We touch a little bit on some of their children. One has a bake shop, which sounds amazing. Another one is a musician. I mean, we go all over the place. Of course, we talk about the new book, Runaway Train, or The Story of My Life So Far, which stemmed from a Vanity Fair interview by Sam Kashner. And it is a book about the story of Eric Roberts. Eliza has so much to do with this book and putting it together that it's basically their book. Again, the name of the book is Runaway Train, or The Story of My Life So Far. It's everywhere where they sell books, and also a little birdie told me that the audiobook might even be a better, more truer version of the story. Hopefully we'll have these guys on again. We talk about it towards the end, and we will see what happens. But for now, this is my conversation with lovebirds, Eric and Eliza Roberts.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Hey, dude.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Fascination Street podcast, cool.
Everything cool on your end?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Okay, if you guys need me, I'm right over here, okay?
Thank you, Eliza.
You're welcome.
Eliza, I do want to have you on because your story by itself, I don't want this dude to outshine you. You're amazing. I want to have you on too.
Okay, so I'll just come and sit next to him.
Alrighty.
We think so too. Thank you.
Absolutely. How are you doing, my man?
I'm great. Thanks for asking, man.
Absolutely.
I got the light. I'm the lucky one.
Hey, I know it's been a while, but how's your thumb?
Well, I got them both back. Everything's good.
That's good. My wife and I were watching that movie again last week.
It's such a good movie, isn't it?
It is a good movie, and what really blew me away was, I think Geraldine Page, she only had like 2 scenes, but like I paused it and I said to my wife, I go, oh my God, this lady is killing it. And then I looked her up and she was nominated 8 times for an Academy Award. I was like, holy shit. And she won one the next year.
For that movie, she was nominated. Isn't that cool?
It's amazing. I was like, how come I've never heard of this woman's name? And she's so awesome.
Oh, wow. You know so much good stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and check out her stuff because she knocked it out of the park. That was amazing.
And also her husband, Rip Torn. I spent a lot of time at their brownstone in Midtown Manhattan where he grew pot back in the days when it was so against the law. It was so, oh my God, he grows pot on his roof. You know, Rip Torn was the coolest cat on the planet.
You got some stories in you, my friend.
I've been really lucky.
If only you would write a book. Wait a minute. Okay, so are you guys ready?
We're ready.
All right. Well, welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Eric and Eliza Roberts. How y'all doing today?
Great. Thanks for asking.
Doing great. Good to see you.
It is good to see you both. The way I like to start the show is I like to start from the beginning. It helps us understand where the guests came from and how they got to where they are. So, you know, each of you, where were you born and raised? Where'd you grow up?
New York, Atlanta, New Orleans.
I guess I should point this out. This is going to be released audio only, so pointing at each other is probably not going to do it.
Well, I was raised in New Orleans and Atlanta, but I came of age in New York, and my wife is from New York.
From Manhattan.
What did you want to be when you grew up, Eliza?
I always wanted to be an actress, but I refused to admit it until it happened. So I said that I wanted to be a doctor. And there was nothing in me except for kind of caregiving, but there was no science or anything else going on or ability to poke someone with a needle that contributed to that.
Nice. And you eventually got into casting, right? You're in the Hollywood biz?
Yeah, I always was acting. Then when I was in Animal House and I was pregnant with Keaton, I fell into a casting job, and then I ended up doing both for the whole time, including now.
They call Keaton the youngest cast member of Animal House.
I love that. They call my sister the youngest attendee at my parents' wedding.
That's really good.
You know Stephen First, obviously.
Yeah, sure we do.
Well, his son Griff, he was on my show a couple of years ago. He's a super cool kid.
Great.
Again, I say kid. What am I don't. He's a grown-ass adult.
Guys, they're kids.
We love Griff. Yeah, because Steven's wife was pregnant at the same time when we were doing Animal House. And so was our DP's wife, Charlie Corley. And I was handing out all kinds of literature to everybody and driving them all crazy. But it was like a birthing room.
Tell me you're handing out. That's a good lesson.
It was a book called The Immaculate Deception. And it was about all of the medical intervention. And back in those days, like unnecessary cesareans. And in the ensuing years, it's just gotten much worse. So there you go.
Nice. That's exciting stuff. I can't believe that they were giving you grief about handing out that literature.
Oh, they were just teasing me.
One of my favorite stories is love stories. Can you guys tell me how y'all met?
Of course. Good. You want to tell it?
Well, I was on a plane. I had just flown in from Rome. I landed at JFK where they hand me a script at the airport. You have to read this on your way to LAX because when you land in Los Angeles, you have to give them an answer that hour. They have to know. So they have the financing or they won't, all depending on your acceptance or non-acceptance. So I get on the plane. It was the MGM Grand. It's a private airline. You're very show busy. I had a little desk, had a little chair. And then walks a redhead with a script. She sits down across from me. So we smile and nod, and then we read our scripts. Well, the plane takes off. It's about an hour, hour and a half into the flight, a little 5-hour flight. And we close our scripts at the same time. So we kind of have to talk. Hi, what are you reading? What are you reading? Who wrote that? Who wrote this? She says to me, who's your favorite screenwriter? I said, one guy, David Rayfield. He wrote 3 Days of the Condor, Out of Africa, The Way We Were, The Firm, blah, 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 blah. She goes, oh, I know. He's my father. And I said, wow, that is so cool. Can I have your phone number? And she says, I'm in a relationship. I said, I didn't ask to sleep with you. I asked for your phone number. Ha, ha, ha. She gave it to me. I land in LA. I go to work. I only work about 3 hours. I'm off at like 11 o'clock at night. So I called this girl that I met on a plane. And a man answered the phone with a very deep voice. Hello? Oh, no. May I speak to Eliza? Madison calling. This is Eric. Just a minute, please. He's gone for like 5 full minutes. A long time to wait on the phone. But I can hear stuff going on, so I know I'm still connected. Anyway, he goes to Eliza, and he goes, telephone call. She goes, who is it? It's Eric. I don't know an Eric. It sounds like Eric Roberts. Oh, I met him on the plane. She takes the call. If Jeffrey Dean Morgan hadn't recognized my voice and said so, I would not have called back because I would have figured I got blown off. And I've been blown off plenty of times. But he recognized my voice. And because of him, I have a 32-year marriage to someone I admire, adore, and idolize and just am crazy about. I'm so lucky. Thank you, Jeffrey Dean.
Now, listeners, Jeffrey Dean was not at her house because they were dating. Why was he at your house?
He was a babysitter for her kids. Her daughter so loved Jeffrey Dean. She rode in the back of his motorcycle with him, all kinds of crazy stuff that I would not allow these days, but they were allowing those days. And he was a member of the family pretty much. Yeah, Jeffrey Dean.
I love it. Eliza, when did you start acting?
I really started as a child, little stuff, the Howdy Doody Show and stuff like that.
You were on the Howdy Doody Show?
Yeah, I was a toddler.
Whoa.
And then just, school plays and all that. And so by the time I turned 16, I graduated from high school. We'd moved to LA. I had graduated from high school and moved to England and gotten into all the schools there. And then that's where John Landis found me so I could do Schlock, his first movie, when I was 17. So it's been always. I never wanted to have that desperation of the actor who did nothing else. So I was always really busy with a lot of other things so that I could kind of put it in the meh, whatever list, which it never really was.
I need to point something out. My wife is very OCD. So she's never not doing nothing. She's always doing much of something. She's dedicated to doing.
Well, I think that, Eric, your work history for the last lot of years will testify to that. She's keeping you busy, bro.
You know what happened was they took film and they gave it digital. So everybody who owned a camera became a studio virtually. So they started calling direct. And the end of the 1990s, or maybe the mid-1990s, whenever it was, my wife comes to me and says, we're getting 30 to 50 offers every day from all over the world. Do you want to pursue this? I said, well, sure. Thinking it would last a year, 2 years, maybe if I'm lucky. But it's lasted 30 years. They're still calling me direct, and I'm still saying yes. So it's just fun. I have the best job on the planet, and I know it.
You do have the best job on the planet. How many days a year do you think you're working, like on set?
On set, probably an average of maybe 200 plus.
Yeah, it's a lot more than that.
Well, Eliza, yeah, I was going to say, let's get that average up. Come on now.
I would say probably Eric has a total of 40 days off a year at the most. And there's some days he does 3 movies in one day. I mean, it's pretty nuts, but it's doable.
I love how into his job he is. And you are. I love how much you love your job, Eric. It shows in everything I've seen you in. And I think it's really cool. You know, like you said, you have the best job ever. A lot of people can't stand their job. And it shows when they can't. But I love that you love your job. Eliza, your dad wrote the screenplay for 3 Days of the Condor.
Mm-hmm.
Were you on set at all for any of that movie?
And not for that movie, but I was very close with his whole group, with Sidney Pollack, and I knew Redford and Hoffman, and they were a company, Wildwood Productions. When I was working at Warner Brothers, their offices were there, so I was there a lot. They all shared this apartment on Old Malibu Road. When they were in LA, that's kind of where they were, or at Sidney's house. So I was around. I was around for a lot of the editing of Out of Africa. I wasn't on the Condor set though, but I remained close with Barbara also. And, I watched them all come up through the ranks. I knew them all when they were not yet successful. And then the same thing with my other parents, and the same thing with our generation, and then my kids' generation. It's fascinating because it never is different.
It never is different. I love that. The bad guy in 3 Days of the Condor was Hank Garrett.
Yeah.
Previous guest of my show, Hank Garrett. That guy's amazing.
We love him.
He also has a book out, and it is a fantastic read. Eliza, are there any plans for you to write a book? Because you got some stories.
I'm going to get Hank's book. We always see him at autograph conventions. He is the sweetest guy, and he was so scary in that movie. There is talk about me writing a book. I've been encouraged for a very long time. I mean, a really long time, since before we ever met. And now with Sam Kashner working with us on Eric's book, he's pretty determined to see it happen. You don't realize that your stories would be interesting to someone until you're interested in other people's stories. And you're like, oh, hold on. I think growing up with parents who were writers, because my mom was a TV writer, watching that pressure.
Her mom was the only woman in the writer's room for like 30 years. She was, she was really unusual. She kind of opened all the doors for all the women to follow.
Who's your mom?
Lila Garrett. If you look at it, isn't that funny? Hank Garrett. No that relation.
Won a bunch Garrett, of Emmys.
2 R's, 2 T's. Look her up. But the pressure, and then the thing is, occasionally both my parents would write something that was just incredible. And then trying to sell it, trying to get somebody to do something with it. It's very painful to have a work of art that just sits there for 6 years, 16 years, whatever. And so I do write a lot, but I've always tried to have it not be something that I need to get out there. But now I think it may be very close to time. So you're definitely hitting on something.
Good. Don't let those stories get away.
Thank you.
Okay, so much to talk about. We're not going to have all of the time in the world, but real quick, I got to ask, Eric, are you still mad at Don Amici?
I was never mad at Don Amici. Never mad at Don Amici, but I was very disappointed. You don't realize how much you want to win up till you lose. I was very proud of my work in Runaway Train, and I felt bad losing.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Don Amici beat Eric Roberts for the Academy Award. Boo. Was Don, that was for Cocoon? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, Eric, how come you didn't quit acting when you fell off the stage at your first play? Like, why didn't you just be like, you know what? I'm not doing this.
I don't know. It's the most rewarding thing in the world to be a child and to do something. And then after it's over, you come out and bow and everybody claps. It's like, wow, this is a cool living. So like really, it was the adoration that I really liked. It was also fun to be somebody else. It was just fun. I was also very opinionated very early about what was good. And so I always aimed to be the most believable possible, even as a little bitty boy. It was just fun for me to understand that it was a trick to make people think you were somebody else. And I had a great time learning that and a great time being that. Even for a little boy, I did my first play at 4. I did my first TV series at 8. All I ever really loved, besides animals, was acting. So I was either going to be a vet or an actor. And to be a vet, you have to study medicine. Well, forget about that. So I became an actor.
You get to play pretend for your whole life.
There you go.
Is this a true story? This sounds insane. Did Martin Luther King cut your 10th birthday cake?
He did. It was at Stone Mountain Park. We're doing a production of the Uncle Remus stories. I was playing a small fox. Dexter King was playing one of the alligators. Marty King III was playing Red Bear. And Yoki was playing Sis Alligator, I think. Anyway, we're all very close. It was my birthday. They threw me a party. All the parents came. Martin Jr. cut my cake and said happy birthday. It was just a really nice day. All the kids, all their parents were all celebrating my 10th birthday in 1966. It was really neat. We all loved each other. We all grew up together. We went to school together. It was like a family affair, but a big family.
That is fantastic. Eliza, who cut your 10th birthday cake?
Probably somebody
I
famous.
probably wasn't allowed to have cake. My mom had a thing about sweets, but I'm sure it was an amazingly innovative party because she also came up with great themes. There was one birthday party in New York she had, which was gambling. I mean, we're little kids. We had like a roulette wheel.
I know about this.
Isn't that hilarious?
Funny.
And she taught us all to play poker and blackjack, and she was really serious about it.
She was a good card player.
She was a really good card player. But like we were, 7 or whatever. It was insane. It was a casino. So when the parents came to pick up the kids, they're like, Mom, I won $3,000. I mean, it was, I lost everything.
That's hilarious.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Hey, this is Landon from the podcast Landon Talks with Kate. Y'all, we wrote a book, Bless Your Heart, A Field Guide to All Things Southern. Comes out April 1st of 2025, and I know that's April Fool's Day, and I do stand-up comedy, but this is not a joke. I literally wrote a book. It's a field guide to life in the South. It's a field guide to how things go down here. It is a hilarious adventure. It's one of those kind of books that you can pick up at any point and read any part of it. You don't have to read it straight through because it is just a fun jaunt, a fun little saunter down an encyclopedia of Southern life. And I will tell y'all, it really got interesting because I am Southern, obviously. So the things I say, I understand. My editors were not. So we've got footnotes, we've got cross references. This thing is turned educational because we had to explain it for everybody. So if you're from the South, you're going to love it because it's hilarious, the things that we talk about and do and the way that we exist. If you're not from the South, you're going to love it because it's a literal guide into life down here and all the silly things that we do and say and all the nostalgia as well. You can pre-order your copy now wherever books are sold. And if you want to hear more from me, check out my podcast, Landon Talks with Kate, wherever podcasts are found.
Let's get back into it.
We're going to bounce all over the place, but real quick, can you guys tell me about your friend Brent Fraser and why you cared enough to help him get sober?
Oh, yeah. You want me to talk about it?
Sure, you can talk about it better. We love Brent with all our hearts. Go ahead.
So I was working for a company called MCEG. That was Jonathan Crane's management company. He had John Travolta and Howie Mandel and Mike Figgis, a bunch of amazing people. I became VP of Talent and Packaging. I was acting for them first, and then I ended up doing everything. We were casting a movie called Chains of Gold, which ended up with Benjamin Bratt, and John Travolta and some other people. Bernie Casey, who was amazing. We auditioned this young guy from Seattle named Brent Fraser, and immediately, as a casting director who's also an actress, you spot talent and then star quality pretty instantaneously. And it's rare, which is why it's called what it's called. He just walked in and was just it. To this day, he can do a turn on material like nobody else does. Nobody. I'm saying that right in front of Eric and myself and his best friend, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So Brent was amazing. And Kathy Henderson was kind of managing him. And, people kind of had their eye on him. But we sort of fostered him and his talent. And of course, there are so many gifted people who I don't think of them as being self-destructive as much as I think of them as wanting to be in control of their own demise. So they kind of take the wheel and drive right into the wall. And, Brent was one of those. Very, very worth saving. So it was so painful to watch him get only part of what was due him and kind of trash the rest while trashing himself. So we just wanted to do everything we possibly could to make him the best that he could be personally so that we could clear the path, love and respect.
Tell me about encounters with Eric and Eliza T Radio V.
A guy named Mike Zinna, we love him. We were guests on like Andy Dick's show or something. And it was such a great setup. It was, very early before real podcasts and stuff. It was TV and radio. And every time, and then we kept guesting on everybody's shows there. And they said, you guys want to do a show? And we had so much to say, to talk about, and so many people wanted to talk to. And so we started it. We just went with the E, which is how it became Encounters. And Quinton did the music. And it was so much fun. There was a lot of multitasking that was going on. Anytime somebody wanted to get together with us and we just couldn't make the time, we just make them come on the show.
Yeah, we'd have them as a guest on the show. Yeah.
That's funny.
So it was really fun. And unfortunately, a lot of the episodes are hard to find. We had Millie Bobby Brown on with actress Katie Silverman. They're the same age. Both were great. Katie was amazing. We knew that Millie was going to do well. And then look at her now. It's just, there's a lot of history created there.
Love it. Eric, you were born at an Air Force base, but you grew up in New Orleans. Is that a true story as well?
Yeah. My parents were both in the Air Force. That's where I was born, in Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi. But I was only there for just a very short time, and then they were out of the service and then on to New Orleans.
You grew up on a boat because your dad was a gun runner?
Well, supposedly, yeah. My father told me this story, and when I went public with it, he was already dead, and my mother denied it. So I have no idea if Mom was either embarrassed or she thought it was too illegal or whether it wasn't true at all. I don't know. But my father told me he ran guns to Cuba. And my earliest memory is on a dock in Cuba. Could have been anywhere, but in my mind it was Cuba. And this little girl was selling shells with her mother. So I went to my dad. I said, I need money. I have to buy my way into this girl's heart. So he gave me money. I went over to the girl and her mother, and I told the girl I thought she was the most beautiful girl I ever saw in my life. And she looked at me like I was stupid. I paid for the shell to my dad and said, Dad, I told her she was beautiful and she didn't care. And Dad said, no, she just didn't understand you. She didn't speak English. I went, oh. So he saved my dignity. And that's my earliest memory I have of anything. I was probably just over 3, maybe 4, but it was just early cognizance. So I don't know quite how old I was, but that's my first memory, I think.
I love that. What's your first memory, Eliza?
Probably around the age of 3. And I think it's just walking on Central Park West with a little coat and a hat and gloves, because that's what you do in winter in New York, pushing my baby doll in my baby carriage and thinking, I'm ready. I need to have a baby right now. It's time. I need a real baby to appear in this baby carriage. I'll be the mom, and that will be my life.
Well, thank you for waiting. Both of you, how hard is it to retain a sense of humor and kindness in your industry? Those who aren't in the industry, we hear a lot of good stories, a lot of bad stories, a lot of nightmares. How hard is it for you guys to keep your sense of humor and the kindness?
Well, answer for me, it's great because I have her. She does pick up all my slack and understanding, in my disappointment, in my gratitude. She's my mirror. So I bounce everything off her. And that makes me happiest and most confident. I just like her. I'm in love with my wife, but I like the person a lot. And I depend on the person. It sounds so corny and so overstated at the same time. She's my rock. And I just love her for it because it's real. At my worst, I can turn to her and get help. At my best, I can turn to her and get redirected. I just love my wife. And we talk honestly all day, every day. So we have a few what every now and then. But, I just love the wife. And the wife is smarter than I am. So it's handy.
I don't think it's hard to keep kindness and humor in our business any more than it is in any other business. I know we have a reputation, and yeah, of course it's brutal. What we were referring to before, you can have really something to offer and really not be guaranteed that it's ever going to be recognized or you're ever going to be taken up on it. But I think that's true with everything, and of course there's crummy things that happen. I mean, there's situations like someone promising something and you kind of can't tell if they mean it. And then you find out they definitely never did mean it. And that's always, somewhat traumatic. But I mean, I don't think it's exclusive to us. It's just that sometimes it can have a really big impact. Like, for instance, Eric did Dancing with the Stars, as you know. And one of the themes they were going to do that season was something personal to you. And we were allowed to use an original song for that. And so, of course, everybody wanted us to do a Keaton song. And they were going to use the one that got very famous from Suits called When I Go. And that was in episode 5. And Eric got through episode 4. And they already start making the plan. So you're already living it. Keaton doesn't really, he thinks the dancing on the show is amazing. But he doesn't really know the show. So he doesn't really realize the impact it would have had. So Eric was sent home just before that. And then the producers came and said, well, in the finale, we might be able to use a little bit of it. And I know they meant it, but as they were planning and this thing happened and that thing happened, it became impossible because the other things they had to put on there. Eric came so close to getting to that 5th dance. Gene Simmons from Kiss, when he came on as a guest judge, he wasn't prepped and he didn't realize we were still just giving kind of 4s and 5s and working our way up in the season. And so the second he saw a pretty girl, he gave her a 10. It threw off the whole board, everything that was kind of in the works. Not that nothing's fixed on that show, but everything, they know the trajectory. They've been doing it for a long time. So Eric was definitely going to still be there for the 5th, which is why they put so much prep into using Keaton's song. So stuff like that in our industry, things that are missteps or, things that don't work out can have such a gigantic impact. That's what makes it different. And things that do work out can have a gigantic impact. Just these little accidental whatevers. And that might be more common in our industry than in other industries. But I think we find more kindness and more humor as years go by because you need it more and more. And you get used to stuff.
Yeah, I think it probably helps that you realize it's not life or death.
Yes, it's not.
For the most part, it's playing, it's pretending for a living.
Yes.
So, Eric, while we're talking about Dancing with the Stars, you are the 4th guest that I've had that was on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh.
Mutual friend Adam Carolla. I had him on. He was episode number 100. And then also I had on Carol Baskin, who is amazing. Her and I were born in the same hospital, which is kind of weird.
That is weird.
Her dad was in the Air Force, and she was born at an Air Force base here in San Antonio, as was I. And then the other one is, I'm sure you know this guy, Tommy Chong.
Very well, yeah.
Cool.
So, Eric, tell me about how you decided to finally do Dancing with the Stars. Didn't you, it didn't work out for the first season or something, right? It didn't work out?
I was in China making a movie, and I got offered Dancing with the Stars, and there was one day overlap of the schedules, and the Chinese movie wouldn't let me out, and I ended up not even working on the day that overlapped the Dancing with the Stars day, so I could have actually done it. The only reason we were interested in doing it is my wife and I had just seen Mad Hot Ballroom, and we talked about ballroom dancing just on our own. We should learn to do that, Eliza. That'd be fun. Yeah, we'd have a great time. And then I get this offer. Wow. And it didn't happen. We start watching the show, Dancing with the Stars. And then she loves the show. Oh, my God, she's a groupie for the show. So I tell my wife, well, if we're ever offered it again, I'll do it for you. And then the years pass. I'm on location again. I'm offered the show. So we revamped the whole schedule so I could do it. I did it for the wifey because I am not a dancer from the get-go. I have 2 left feet and my rhythm is very poor. But I did it for the wifey and hopefully to showcase Keaton's music. That was the plan. And I failed.
I wouldn't say failed. How dare you? Eric, you've declined over 30 offers to direct. How come?
I'm not a boss. We all think of ourselves as these great individual, unique people. I'm not a leader. I'm a follower to a great degree. I'm also not mature enough to be the boss. I'm rather immature, and I love my job so much. It's like loving my wife. I love her all day, every day. I love my job all day, every day. I just love acting. And I've gotten to play roles I would never be offered because of digital and because of all the offers. I get all kinds of great part offers now that are just wonderfully weird and fun to play. And I just feel I'm very lucky to have that. So why junk it up being a boss?
However, because now we're doing a lot of coaching and I am a director. So together, the next one that gets offered, we're going to accept and we'll do it together. So many actors segue into directing and actors make the best directors. I'm sorry, but they really do. That's something that we really want to do in the future. But we'll do it together.
To clarify it, I would direct something now if I could have her as my directing partner. Because my wife is together and I'm an actor. We're kind of known to be not together. So it would work well.
She will be your wrangler.
Yeah, she would be.
Yeah.
Tell me about Pi Bakeshop.
Oh, Pi Bakeshop is one of our daughter's company. It's called Pi Bakeshop with the Pi sign. She makes everything. Savory pies, sweet pies, everything you can think of, she can make it. I live pretty much off pie.
Pi Bakeshop, P-I Bakeshop, no E. The thing about Morgan is I can't cook and I'm vegan. She's just talented. She has it in other genes. A really brilliant chef and went to culinary school and baker. But I mean, she's been doing it professionally, all over the world since she was 7 years old.
We arrived on location in 1991 in South Africa. We arrived at this big resort. Within half a day, we lost Morgan. Where'd she go? I think she's in the main place. And went over there. She was already cooking, already had a bunch of friends there, and she was making soup. What? And that's just what she does. And at the time, I think she was 11, 10.
Mm-hmm.
She was a kid. And yet that's what she did. That's what she wanted to do. So every place we went, she was in the kitchen. And it was just kind of cool because she's a really cool chick.
I love this. Eric, you're not going to believe this or care, but we have so much in common. I'm madly in love with my wife. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me. My son went to culinary school.
Oh, wow.
My mom's birthday is April 18th.
Wow.
I also have an amazing sister.
Yep.
I don't look anything like you, but other than that, we have so much in common.
Weren't you born on an Air Force base also?
I was. Yeah, that's correct. See, we're twins.
Yeah, twinsies.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Karen Silkwood had a purpose. She was headed to a crucial meeting that would blow the whistle on the billion-dollar nuclear corporation she worked for. Instead, she died in a concrete culvert on a dark, desolate stretch of highway just outside of Crescent, Oklahoma. To discredit her, authorities and the institution Karen sought to expose called her nothing more than an emotionally disturbed and sexually promiscuous drug abuser. But in her death, she became a martyr for feminism, environmentalism, and pro-labor movements. From the creators of Gone Cold, Texas True Crime comes Silkwood, a story that remains one of the most explosive conspiracies in 20th century America and became the inspiration for a critically acclaimed movie. Silkwood dives deep into 28-year-old whistleblower Karen Silkwood, her relentless fight for truth, and the chilling events that followed. Betrayal, danger, and a mysterious unsolved death that still haunts the nation 5 decades later. Seeking justice, Karen went up against a corporate Goliath and paid the ultimate price. With no known witnesses, what happened to Karen Silkwood on that cold November night? Was it an accident? Was she silenced for knowing too much? Or something far more sinister? In a world where profits are placed above safety, Silkwood takes you inside a gripping true tale of corporate greed, government cover-ups, and the deadly secrets inside a nuclear industry titan. Don't miss this eye-opening journey into one of the most powerful stories of our time. Find Silkwood on your favorite podcast platform and hit that subscribe button now. Some secrets are too dangerous to stay hidden.
Let's get back into it.
One thing I didn't do that you did, and I would love for you to tell me about the time that you put a knife to Sylvester Stallone's eye. What's wrong with you?
Well, there's a good story about that scene. My wife and I had many days off shooting The Specialist. That's what the movie's called, The Specialist. One night we had off and they were doing night shoots, and my wife said, let's go watch. I said, cool. So we're in the crowd. We're kind of hiding. It's us. We're in this crowd of people, this crowd of fans, and Sly's working, and they call cut. And suddenly out of nowhere, he knew I was there, and he goes, hey, Eric. I said, what's up, Sly? Hey, what are you doing? I'm watching. Okay, hey, Eliza. Eric, I'm thinking about it. We don't have a scene in this movie together. So I said, in front of all these people, I said, so write one. I'll write it tonight. We'll shoot it tomorrow. Now, I thought he was showing off for the crowd. I just thought, he's Sly Stallone. He can do what he wants. So I just took it with a grain of salt. And the next day I show up on a set and there's a new scene. And it's that scene. It's that scene where I put the knife in his eye. And he said, how do you like it? I said, I love it. Okay, we're shooting it today. Okay. So he shot it. It's in the movie. So he became a friend of mine overnight with that action because I thought, what a cool guy. Because he said, I want to sing with you. Blah, blah, blah. So we did that scene and we became friends, really. I just liked the guy. And the next time we worked together, he was the director. He was not the director of The Specialist, but he was director of Expendables. I just fell in love with him as a boss, as a guy, as an actor, as a co-actor. I love Sly Stallone. He's just a cool cat.
Nice.
I understand he's having heart problems these days. So my love goes out to you, Sly.
Oh, Sly, buddy. Get well. Oh, my gosh. Back to The Specialist. I heard that you guys shot a sex scene for that movie, but they cut it out because you were in better shape than Sharon Stone.
No. That's so mean to say. I love Sharon Stone. Don't get me wrong with this story. And I want to tell this story because Sly Stallone would always call her flat ass. And I didn't like that because she'd say it on the set. And it would bother her. And I could see it would bother her. And it made me feel bad. But Sharon Stone's character slept with everybody in the movie. And when they watch the movie, they watch all the love scenes. I think there are 3 or 4 love scenes with her. One of the producers said, she can't F everybody. We have to cut one of these love scenes out. And they cut mine out because it was the most graphic, I guess. So they cut my love scene out. I was very disappointed because Sly Stallone's in the movie, so you have the American body in film, body, physique. I worked so hard to get in shape where I wouldn't embarrass myself around him. I looked pretty good. I was very proud of it. But nobody saw it but us.
Eliza, how does it feel to watch your husband have a sex scene?
So funny because it doesn't feel like anything. And
it does not bother her.
Yeah, it really doesn't bother me. And now lately, I've had a couple of actors come to me who have, very serious relationships. And in one case, it's a fiance. In another case, it's a girlfriend, where these women are not having it. They're not in our business. And they're talking to their girlfriends who are also not in the business. And they're like, you can't put up with that. You got to tell him they'll do the movie, but cut everything. And so then they send these women to me.
True story.
And it's hard to convince someone to feel something different, right? And usually what happens is I immediately bond with these women. I love them and I can't really change a thing. They try to change me a little, but doesn't work. It's very funny. You can kind of compartmentalize. I mean, it's all the stuff you hear. You're on set, the cameras are there, blah, blah. It isn't even that. It's that you get into this story and you're just, when I see Eric in a movie, a lot of the times I'm watching Eric Roberts. I'm not watching Eric. My sister came over the other day and she and I watched Final Analysis because she's never seen it before.
A really good movie. Kim Baster, Richard Gere.
And we were both watching this movie and Eric's character. And then he came in for a little while and we were sitting on this same ottoman with him, both of us. And we didn't really put together, you don't really feel like the person you're sitting next to is the person on screen. When we did Love as a Gun, it was Eric and me and Kelly Preston. And we both had love scenes in the movie. the director, who was a guy and who was very, very close with Eric, he was so worried about my love scene. He was so worried about Eric being upset. They talked for like 4 days about whether Eric should be on set or not. Eric didn't even know about these conversations. He wasn't working that day. They went and picked him up at the house and brought him to set so he could be there, just in case that there was something he wanted to change. And Eric, after like a few minutes, was like, can I just go home? I was having a nice day at home and I don't really understand.
I had a day off. Come on, you guys. What's your
issue? You guys are like freaking out here for no reason. I don't really get it. So I don't think, does it bother you?
Not at all.
I don't think it bothers either of us, really. Maybe we're weird.
But it's also because, my wife doesn't act like anything but an actor at work. That's what she's doing. And she does it well, where it's totally believable. But she's not that. She's my wife. And I know that. I don't have any issues.
It probably helps if you're on set and see how unromantic that scene is, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there have been times I've been asked to be on set to make the actress comfortable. And then times that they're like, be there, but don't be right on set. Everybody handles it differently.
I've asked her all these variations. Be on set, be close, be on set, but don't be close.
You usually want
because of the other girl.
Yeah, but sometimes, or a guy. Like, remember when Gregory Harrison was like, nobody can be in here for my kissing scene with Eric. And then everyone, the entire crew and all the rest of the cast was crowded around the monitor at Video Village, giggling. He didn't realize that we were all watching anyway. And Kelly had just had her baby, Jet. And so she was feeling she wanted to have certain angles and stuff, which I get it. She just had a baby.
I got a great inside story for you. Speaking of babies, John came to the set one day with Jet. Jet was an infant pretty much. And John says to me and Liza, now she's his ex-manager. So they talk all kinds of serious stuff all the time. And he says to her, God, I was offered this movie and I can't do it. It's a good script, but I can't do it. It's too violent. It's called Pulp Fiction. And she goes, no, Pulp Fiction with Tarantino? And he goes, yeah. And she goes, you have to do it. He's going to rule the world, John. You have to do it for Quentin Tarantino. And John goes, but it's so violent and I object. She goes, it doesn't matter. It's Quentin Tarantino. You have to do the movie. And I was there when she told John to do the movie and he was saying he wasn't going to do it. So she talked him into Pulp Fiction.
And that literally revived his career. I mean, he had done Look Who's Talking or whatever, but nothing impacted that dude's career like Pulp Fiction.
Love is a Gun was made by the same people who made Look Who's Talking. And Look Who's Talking definitely helped. And then absolutely Pulp Fiction. I do not take sole credit for, yes, I said that to John. I understood so well as a parent. He had very paternal instincts going on. It was all nurturing. He didn't want to do something that his child couldn't see. I was very sensitive to that, and he knew my kids, so we talked about it. And also, I was part of the company that managed him. I wouldn't call myself his manager, but I was and am his friend. Yeah, I think he probably heard from several people, we'll never speak to you again if you don't do Come on. And he figured out how to do all that. So there you go.
Now, Eliza, a little birdie told me that you are also responsible for George Clooney being on ER.
George was out there as an actor, like with a bunch of other actors in the world. My adopted dad, who I consider my dad, Don Garrett, was his publicist. And so, he was like, he's really frustrated. He keeps auditioning and almost getting parts. Can you kind of take him under your wing as a casting director? I read him for everything. This is before people would self-tape or even before you even taped auditions. There's an after-school special called The Gambler about a teenage gambling addict. And it was just supposed to be his best buddy. Bob Singer and Joe Stern were producing and directing. I probably brought George in 11 or 15 times as the best friend. And they're like, yeah, we like him. We don't see it, whatever. To a point where one day we had an emergency weekend casting session at my dad's office. And George came in with blackened teeth and a trench coat, which had nothing whatsoever to do with the character or the piece. And Bob Singer walked through the waiting room and came to me and said, you got to talk to your buddy, George, because I don't know what the hell he's doing, but he's like all dressed up for something else. And I went out and I was like, so what are you doing? And he's like, I don't know what they want. I keep coming in. I'm not getting this part. And I just want to do something different. And I said to them, you have to cast him. You just can't. And they didn't. They didn't cast Brad Pitt for that thing either. And George had even done another pilot called ER, which was a sitcom. I mean, if you get to the point where you've done so many failed things that they start to repeat titles, you've really been struggling for a while. And he was always wonderful. I was then at Lorimar casting. Les Moonves was going to make a development deal with either Sinbad or George Clooney. And I said, you have this new show, ER. if you put George on a development deal less and you give him a romantic, like Juliana Margulies, who was signed, a romantic storyline, you are going to make a star. We'll put Sinbad in things, I promise. But come on, you gotta see the light here. I don't know, whatever, but he did it. And they made sure to do that pairing. And we knew that was going to be the tipping point, and it was. So there you go. So I guess I might have had, George would probably say I was somewhat instrumental in that also. He was going to do well anyway, but there you go.
I love it. That failed show ER that you talked about.
Yeah.
I think Jason Alexander was in that before he became Seinfeld guy.
Yeah, he also did a lot of stuff before.
Tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about a book. There's this book. Now, I know, Eliza, you've been talking about writing a book for forever, but Eric actually did finally write some stories down with some help. Runaway Train, or The Story of My Life So Far, it stemmed from a Vanity Fair interview?
Mm-hmm.
Say more.
Well, I did a Vanity Fair interview.
Okay, here, let me explain. There is a guy named Sam Kashner who is brilliant.
He did the Obama cover interview.
He's just brilliant. He worked for Graydon Carter for many, many years. Still does, because now he's at Airmail, but he was at Vanity Fair before Graydon sold Vanity Fair. So Sam is fascinated with my father, with David Raphael. Really wanted to get him into that archive of whatever. He just really loves that writing. It's similar to his writing style. And he loves Eric. And he just immediately thought, these two guys are related. And there's so many similarities in terms of the genius and also the kind of obscurity and fame at the same time. And, just not mainstream, but internationally known. So he wanted to connect the dots, and he approached us to write this article for the Hollywood issue, the Oscar issue, deliberately for that issue.
Cool, huh?
Very cool.
We started that long thing that you do with journalists. We had done it with Fred Schroers prior, where they just move in with you basically and you hang out together for a couple of years. He always intended to nudge it into a book. He just didn't say so. And then he did say so. And COVID intervened and this happened and that happened, but it happened, right?
Well, everybody kept saying, when are you going to write a book? And I had no intention of ever writing a book because I read bios and they piss me off or they bore me or they disappoint me or they're just not well written. And I didn't want to be in that category. And I'm afraid I would be. I'm not a writer. And so, no, I'm not going to write a book. But then the pressure got so heavy from the publishers I wasn't even with to people I didn't know to her. Everybody's saying, you got to write the book. So I'm like, but you don't understand. If I write a book, it's going to suck. And they're like, no, you just have to write a book. And then I realized, how do I keep from sucking? Oh, so I turn to her and I go, if you'll edit every page from me, I'll go to work on it. And she said, well, Sam Kashner wants to write it with you. So I don't think you need me. I said, no, I need you for my voice because you understand my voice. And so the three of us wrote this book. And I wrote it first. It took 2 years. It was kind of overwordy and honest, but not dynamic. And then she fixed it. That's kind of what happened. Sam, of course, was the guy with all the facts. He did all the homework. And we wrote a book. There's always a formula for biographies. And it bores me. You can really anticipate it. And it's not very inspiring. And it's very repetitive. I didn't want to be one of those guys. So I tried to be different with the honesty, with the real, and not the nasty, honesty. Oh my God, did that really happen? But just the honesty of a life where you have to make money, you have to eat, you have to travel, you have to sleep, you have to do stuff that we all have to do in order to carry on. And so I wanted it to be that kind of understanding of what I do. And so that's what I aim for. And that's what I told Sam and the wife I was after. And they helped. And they kept me lined up. I would bring in pages and she'd say, you're embellishing just a little bit, honey. What do you mean? She said, no, but that happened, but not like that. I'd be like, well, but it sounds good. Yes, it does, but you have to go fix it. And she'd send me back to fix stuff all the time. And I'm really glad because in the end, it's all the same voice. It's all the same understanding as I understood what happened. And so I'm very proud of it. And it is a story of my life so far. I've had so much good shit happen between the book and today that in 3 or 4 years, I'm going to have another book because so much good shit's been happening for us. I love our lives. I really do.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Pull up a chair, make a pallet, or take a knee and tune in to Landon Talks with Kate, a conversational podcast blending humor, southern charm, and insightful discussions. We'll sip on some sweet tea and deep dive into topics ranging from caftans to collard greens, from art and literature to health and wellness, to internet trends and entertainment, and so much more. Expect listener questions, personal stories, and exciting special guests. Perfect for those of y'all who love to chat and learn something new every week. It'll be a relaxing, good time full of laughs and a lot of heart. Y'all come hang out with us everywhere podcasts are found.
Let's get back into it.
Again, the book is called Runaway Train, or The Story of My Life So Far. Before the book, I know you said a lot of stuff happened between the book and now, but up to the point of where the book ends, what did you leave out of the book?
Well, I left my regret and my anger pretty much out of the book. I have regret, and I left it out of the book because I didn't want people to think that I felt I was entitled to more, or I missed some, or I should get other, whatever it is. I didn't want them to think that, because I don't think that. And so I left out, I guess, any nastiness that I feel, because I do feel a little nasty towards certain issues. And I realize that about myself. And I've read other books. I've read every biography pretty much ever written about show business people. And I don't like when they have nasty regret or nasty opinions or nasty feelings about certain issues in their life. It always made me uncomfortable. I didn't want to go there. So that's what I guess I left out, if anything. Is there anything that you know of that we discussed I left out?
I think, to be more specific about what Eric's saying, he's very sensitive. So if for instance, he does a kick-ass job on an arc on a show, let's say, and they give him more episodes than they even expected to and whatever, and they love him. If there's another season or something and his character just doesn't work in it at all and he's not invited back, therefore, I know, because I'm in touch with them, how they feel about him. But he will go to a place where he's like, well, I guess they didn't like me that much, or I guess they didn't recognize what I was trying to do. And you can't get him off it. I think the reason he didn't write about it is because somewhere he knows that it's paranoia. It's not fact. He's incorrect. And their hearts would break if they thought that he felt that way, because it's so not representative of the reasons that all that happens. That had to do with really huge overriding things that have nothing to do with Eric. So I think that that's what, and like when we listen to one of Alec Baldwin's books, it's really fun, but he just comes right out and says the people he hates.
Oh, it's harsh.
He just like, wow. And is it Joel Zwick or Ed Zwick? One of the Zwicks. Also a great book. Basically, it's a warning. Several chapters are warning. Don't interact with this person. They're a horrible person. Of course, it's tempting. Everybody wants to know who everybody hates, but it's a really bad idea. You cannot do it. The main reason is sometimes you then have another encounter with that person and they turn out to be wonderful.
When you meet people out of the working space, they aren't the same peeps. They're different peeps.
Yeah.
And you have to bear that in mind in your understanding. It's also true of me, too. I mean, I'm not the same peep opposite I am on a set, because I'm in the work, and it's a whole different headspace.
Yeah. I mean, because of what you do, you must run into it too. We have a very good friend who has a podcast, and he's kind of a well-known person. And at first, his podcast company was insisting on people with X number of followers. I mean, they had to be kind of high profile. I know it's a pain in the ass, just like casting, same thing. They said after a couple of years, you can just kind of put whoever you want on. But in the meantime, so you've got this wish list, and, a lot of times they're people you're not even interested in, but okay, and the person he was really on the fence about doing, just thinking, should I might not. And he had reasons and stuff, ended up being his favorite interview of all the interviews he did, and a fantastic interview. And he was so glad not to get stuck on that negative space. So that's a good reason. And when you're writing a book, it's kind of hypnotic. You feel like just stream of consciousness and just spill it all out there. And then you realize, wow, where is this landing though? It's a responsibility. But you want it to be interesting. And like, for instance, some of them start so far back generationally. There's like 18 chapters on the great, great, great grandmother who maybe isn't even the great, great, and you're like, what am I, why?
But the only thing that I left out of the book by accident that I wish I hadn't was in my first movie, King of the Gypsies, my stand-in was a guy I went to school with at the American Academy named Randall Caldwell. And he and I prepped my next day's work every night, before the next day. We'd spend 2-3 hours after work and we'd prep the next day. And he was my mirror. He was my coach. He was my pal, Randall Caldwell. And I never mentioned him. And I always regret that. I didn't put him in the book because without him, my first performance on film would not have been as good. He really helped.
So there, he's saying that now. You always have some of those. By the way, Randall Caldwell became an author and screenwriter and did a lot of writing on Amy Brenneman's show, Judging Amy. So he landed on his feet and is doing fine.
Yeah.
But you want to put those positive messages out there.
Yeah, you do.
And also our book, his book.
Our book. I like that.
Well, everything I do goes through her, so it's our book.
It's not just that. The printed version is different from the audio version.
Oh, yeah, this is a funny story.
Because once we got in there, we were told you can't change a thing. You can't change a thing. There's something about words sync or something, whatever. And so we were like, oh, because there was a few things that were already making us both cringe.
On one of the first couple of pages, it says, my dad played semi-pro ball. My dad was as coordinated as a broken stick. My maternal grandfather played semi-pro ball for a minute. So they got little facts wrong like that describe people that were not those people. I made all the corrections, sent them back to them. There were about 20 of those kind of just missed facts. And I sent the correction. They didn't fix it, and they published it. I felt kind of bad about that. So then when we did the audiobook, I fixed all the corrections and I made it totally accurate. So it's all the facts as they happen.
Yeah, they fixed some of them. They couldn't. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. It's, page space. I mean, it was already just about to be published.
She's making an excuse.
But also,
they didn't fix a thing.
When we found out we could change a couple of things, because our wonderful director, Dennis Cow, said, it's your book. Sure. I mean, I just had John Stamos in here. He changed it. We're like, really?
So we changed all the corrections in the audiobook for all the stuff they got.
We made a million other changes. Eric, God, now you're going to be all lightweight about it. We rewrote the entire book with that audiobook, and we did. But and then they came up with the idea of using Keaton's music, which is incredibly emotional and really works in the audio. So we always tell people, get the audio version, get whatever version you want. But if you're going to get the book version, get the audio version too, and you can do your own comparison. I hope the publishers are not listening to this. You also got them the notes really late. You have to stop it.
I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, we've said Keaton a bunch of times, but I don't know if we've said his full name. His name is Quinton Simmons. He is the musician and the son and just an amazing fellow, which Streetwalkers, we will get to know him a little bit better in a few weeks. But, oh my goodness, you guys are killing it. I love you guys so much. I love you as a couple. I love your love story. I love, and I love seeing love, and I can see it clearly right now on my computer screen. You guys are stupid for each other, and I love that. Again, everybody, the new book, Runaway Train, or The Story of My Life So Far, it is Eric and Eliza Roberts' book. I don't care how much she tries to pretend it's not. Eric already told me. She walked away for a minute, and Eric was like, nah, this is just as much her book as it is mine. So take it easy with the denials there, lady. Eric and Eliza, tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
Okay, we are on Facebook and Twitter, which we refuse to call X, and Instagram and Reddit and TikTok. We're not great at it. So it's for me at Mom Eliza Roberts. On some of those, I'm not even there because I'm so busy doing Eric's with him that I just it's just his. And then for him, it's at Eric Roberts or at Eric Roberts Actor, but I can't remember which is which. You'll know. I mean, there's a million fakes. Let's put it this way. If anyone starts to DM you or ask you for money, it's not us.
No, if they ask you for money, it's definitely me.
Yeah, right. But we do try to be active on social media. We love it. I mean, it's unifying. During Dancing with the Stars, Britt taught us how to do it, and that was amazing. So we became shining masters of that for a few weeks. It's since faded a little bit, but that's where we find us.
Fantastic. What is the name of your podcast?
Well, we don't have one, but I was just going to say to you, we should interview you because I want to hear all about you and your wife and stuff. We have to do a reverse one.
Yeah, we want to talk to you.
Maybe do a reverse one through yours. It'll be the first time you did that, or maybe not.
I think that would be the first time we did that.
Oh, let's do that. Let's set it up.
That'd be really fun.
All right, cool. I'll reach out and we'll get that set up. That sounds like a lot of fun.
That would be really fun. Really fun. We'd love to. So then we can learn about you.
You're so sweet.
All right. This was great. You're so fun to talk to.
Likewise, you guys are a blast. Eliza, Eric, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your hectic leading the most extraordinarily in love lives ever to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street. I really appreciate it.
That's so nice. Thank you. Didn't I do well?
Yes, and we love the title Fascination Street. It's wonderful.
Oh, thank you. It stems from my wife used to do a lot of traveling. She's a master's prepared psychiatric nurse, but she used to travel all over the country opening psychiatric hospitals.
Oh,
Wow.
What a babe. Wow.
Yeah. And she's a smoke show too. I'm just saying. So invariably, she'd be opening a hospital in some other state or whatever, and I would get on a plane and just go visit her for a little while she was doing what she was doing. And I would meet people on the plane and I would just start talking to them, and they would always have just like fascinating stories. And I'm like, why doesn't everybody know these stories? And so that's why I started the show. I say it in the intro, but I think that everybody has a fascinating story.
I do too.
But people don't think it's fascinating because it's just their story. It's just their humdrum life or whatever. But everybody has something fascinating to say. And that's why I started the show.
I love it. And you and I totally agree philosophically. That's so cool.
I love it. Thank you, guys. I'll see y'all later. You guys have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. You too.
Peace out.
Bye, sweetie.
Mwah.
Bye-bye. Opening music is the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Vin. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jax Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.